Amid the twinkling teacups, Lyle could hear the voices of the two women. They talked about this, that, and everything under the sun. It was so stuffy and uncomfortable in the closet, he began to wish they would talk about Mrs. Hipple leaving. At long last, Lyle heard Mrs. Hipple say, "I must be going now," and Mrs. Prim say, "I'm so glad you came, and so sorry you missed Lyle, but I do hope you will be meeting him real soon." Then Lyle heard the handle of the closet door turn as Mrs. Prim said, "Here, let me get you your coat." Uh-oh. The instant the door opened, Lyle fell out upon both women. Mrs. Prim let out a sharp gasp, and Mrs. Hipple definitely screamed. "Are you all right? Are you all right?" Mrs. Prim cried out as they struggled to their feet. "Take him away! Take that monster away from me!" Mrs. Hipple began to shriek. "Oh, please, he won't hurt you. I promise he won't hurt you." Mrs. Prim tried to reassure her. "Look at him. He's more frightened than you." "Let me out of here!" Mrs. Hipple shrieked on. "Let me out of this terrible house!" Mrs. Prim opened the door as Mrs. Hipple, her hair and her clothes all in a rumple, stumbled from the house. "If that crocodile ever so much as crosses my path, I'll have him arrested," she called back over her shoulder. "This is supposed to be a nice neighborhood, you know." "Poor Lyle," said Mrs. Prim that night. "Now he's afraid he's going to be arrested. We're just going to have to think of something to take his mind off his troubles." Look at him. He's so worried. On the first warm day, the Prims knew just what to do for Lyle. "We'll take him to the beach," they decided. "Swimming has always been Lyle's favorite sport," smiled Mrs. Prim, "and he's by far the best swimmer in the family," her husband added. While Mr. and Mrs. made themselves comfortable and Joshua started on a sandcastle, Lyle took a running dive for the water. Lyle's water stunts delighted everyone close by. There he is doing his tumble salts. Everyone, that is, except Mrs. Hipple, who had just arrived with Clover, and with Clover was dunking her feet. Mrs. Hipple set out at once to find a lifeguard. "Lifeguard, lifeguard," she cried, "do you permit crocodiles to bathe here?" "Certainly not," answered the lifeguard. "Well, it might interest you to know there is a crocodile bathing out there this very minute." Mrs. Hipple pointed to the spot where she had seen the crocodile. Suddenly, everyone on the beach was looking and pointing, but not at a crocodile. They were pointing to a little girl, thrashing about helplessly in the water. "Clover, Clover," cried Mrs. Hipple, "she's drowning." The lifeguards immediately pushed off to the rescue, but Lyle raced to the scene before them. "There's a crocodile out there," someone gasped. "No, it's Lyle," called Mrs. Prim, standing near me by. "I mean, it's Lyle the crocodile." Lyle brought a very wet, but happy Clover safely back to shore. "Hooray for Lyle," the crowd shouted. "Oh, Lyle, dear friend," sobbed Mrs. Hipple, "how can I ever thank you?" Everyone was so proud of Lyle, he was immediately appointed honorary lifeguard. He was given a hat, a sweatshirt, and a silver whistle. "Lyle, you are a hero," said the head lifeguard. "Feel free to come here and save people from drowning anytime you choose." The next day, a note addressed to Lyle was found under the door of the house on East 88th Street. "Oh no, not again," Mrs. Prim moaned. "Dear Lyle," read Mr. Prim, "I love you. I love you more than anything. I love you so much I can't stand it." And the note was signed, "Your friend for life, Clover Sue Hipple." "P.S." Mr. Prim continued, "May I play with you today?" "P.P.S. My mother said it's all right." Lyle smiled one of his big, big smiles. The end. It really is Lovable Lyle. So I hope you enjoyed that book, and we'll see you soon.